First story, by David A. My name is David, and this story takes me back to the time when I lived in a cramped apartment in Brooklyn, New York. It was an old building, and I often heard creaking sounds from the basement, which was unsettling, to say the least. But what happened to me one fateful evening in that basement still sends shivers down my spine. It was a chilly November night, and I had just returned from work. I decided to head down to the basement to do some laundry. As I descended the narrow, dimly lit staircase, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. The old building had its quirks, so I dismissed it as paranoia. In the basement, I noticed a man huddled in the corner. His tattered clothes hung loosely on his frail frame, and his long, unkempt hair covered most of his face. Startled, I asked him what he was doing there, but he simply mumbled something unintelligible. I couldn't make out his face in the dim light, but his presence sent a wave of unease through me. I quickly loaded my laundry into the machine, trying to ignore the strange man. But as I was about to leave, he spoke, his voice a hoarse whisper. "Stay away from the dark corners, boy. They're not what they seem." His cryptic warning sent chills down my spine. I asked him what he meant, but he only repeated, "Stay away from the dark corners." I decided it was best not to engage any further with this odd individual, so I hurriedly gathered my laundry and rushed back upstairs. For weeks, I couldn't shake the memory of that encounter. I did some research on the building and discovered that it had a dark history. It was rumored to have been a speakeasy during the Prohibition era, with tales of illegal activities and shady dealings in the basement. One evening, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to explore the basement further. Armed with a flashlight, I ventured down the creaky stairs. As the beam of light cut through the darkness, I noticed something unsettling, strange symbols etched onto the walls and an old, rusted door hidden in a dark corner. My heart raced as I approached the door. With trembling hands, I pushed it open, revealing a hidden chamber. It was filled with decaying remnants of what seemed like an illegal gambling den from the past. The eerie silence was broken only by the distant sounds of dripping water. As I explored further, I stumbled upon a faded photograph of the very man I had encountered in the basement weeks ago. He appeared younger, surrounded by a group of rough-looking individuals. It seemed that he had a connection to this sinister place, but what that connection was, I couldn't fathom. That night I couldn't sleep. The basement and its secrets haunted my thoughts. Who was that man, and why did he warn me to stay away from the dark corners? What had happened in that hidden chamber, and why had it been sealed away for so long? I moved out of that apartment not long after my discovery, unable to shake the feeling that I had unearthed something best left undisturbed. The memory of that basement dweller and the secrets hidden beneath that old building continue to haunt me to this day. Second story, by Anonymous. My story takes place in a remote village in the south of France. I had always been fascinated by history and old architecture, so when I had the opportunity to stay in a centuries-old villa, I jumped at the chance. Little did I know that my curiosity would lead me to an eerie encounter in the villa's forgotten cellar. The villa, with its ivy-covered stone walls and ancient charm, was a dream come true for someone like me. I spent days exploring its nooks and crannies, uncovering hidden alcoves and secret passages. But it was the cellar that held the most intrigue. One afternoon, armed with a dimly lit lantern, I descended the worn stone steps into the cellar. The air grew colder, and a musty odor enveloped me as I ventured deeper into the darkness. Cobwebs clung to the low ceiling, and the flickering lantern cast eerie shadows on the damp walls. As I explored further, I stumbled upon an old wooden door, its surface weathered by time. I couldn't resist the temptation to see what lay beyond, and with a creak, the door swung open. Before me lay a chamber untouched by time, dusty barrels, antique furniture covered in tattered sheets, and an ornate mirror that seemed to reflect a past long gone. In the corner of the room, I noticed a painting covered by a heavy cloth. My curiosity got the better of me, and I unveiled the painting to reveal a portrait of a young woman. Her eyes seemed to follow me, and an inexplicable sense of unease washed over me. As I gazed at the painting, a voice from behind startled me. I turned to find an elderly woman, her eyes filled with sadness. She spoke to me in French, and though my grasp of the language was limited, I understood her plea to leave the cellar and never return. I complied, hastily exiting the chamber and ascending the cellar stairs. The elderly woman followed me, and with a trembling hand, she locked the cellar door. She then led me outside and spoke more clearly in broken English. She explained that the villa had been in her family for generations, and that the cellar was sealed off for a reason. The young woman in the painting had been her ancestor, a tragic figure who had met a horrifying end within the depths of the cellar. The story she told me was one of betrayal, love, and a dark secret that had torn her family apart. The cellar, it seemed, held the memories of that tragic past, and the spirit of the young woman was said to roam its hidden chambers. That night, as I lay in my room, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The villa, with all its beauty and history, had a dark underbelly that I had unwittingly stumbled upon. The memory of the elderly woman's warning and the eerie encounter in the forgotten cellar still haunts me, reminding me that some secrets are best left buried in the depths of the past. Third story, by Michael O. I am Michael, and this story is about a series of events that unfolded in our seemingly ordinary suburban home in Boston, Massachusetts. It all started innocently enough, with my wife, Emily, and our 2 young children moving into our dream home. Little did we know that our lives would soon take a chilling and unexpected turn. The basement of our new home was spacious and served as a play area for our kids. We spent hours down there, watching them play and enjoying family time. But as the days turned into weeks, strange occurrences began to unsettle us. It started with small things, toys moving on their own, faint whispers in the corners of the room, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched. At first, we brushed it off as the quirks of an old house, but soon the disturbances grew more intense. One evening, as Emily was doing laundry in the basement, she heard a child's laughter echoing from the darkness. Thinking it was one of our kids, she called out to them but received no response. When she turned to leave, the basement door slammed shut on its own, trapping her inside. I rushed to her aid, struggling to open the stubborn door. When I finally got it open, Emily was pale and trembling, insisting that someone or something had been in there with her, playing tricks. As the days passed, the basement became an increasingly terrifying place. Our children refused to go down there, claiming to have seen shadowy figures and heard ominous whispers. Emily and I, too, began to experience strange phenomena, objects levitating, eerie apparitions, and chilling cold spots that seemed to defy explanation. Desperate for answers, we contacted a local paranormal investigator who agreed to examine our home. He set up cameras and audio recording equipment in the basement, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. That night, as we watched the footage, our blood ran cold. The recordings showed shadowy figures moving in the darkness, disembodied voices murmuring incoherently, and the chilling sound of children's laughter. It was as though the basement had become a gateway to another realm, one filled with malevolent entities. The investigators' conclusion was grim. Our home was haunted by restless spirits, and the basement was the epicenter of their activity. He advised us to leave the house immediately, but financial constraints left us with no other option but to stay. As the weeks turned into months, the disturbances escalated to a horrifying climax. One night, as we lay in our bed, we heard the unmistakable sound of children's footsteps running up the basement stairs. We rushed downstairs, only to find the basement door wide open, revealing a scene of unimaginable horror. Our children's toys were scattered across the room, and in the corner, a sinister figure with hollow eyes and a twisted smile loomed. It spoke in a chilling, childlike voice. "Come play with us forever." In a panic, we fled the house, leaving behind most of our belongings. We found temporary shelter with relatives while desperately seeking a way to rid our home of its sinister inhabitants. Exorcisms, blessings, and paranormal experts yielded no results, and our house remained tainted by the evil that lurked in the basement. To this day, we live with the traumatic memories of our suburban nightmare. Our dream home had become a nightmarish prison, and the basement, once a place of joy, had transformed into a gateway to a realm of unspeakable horror. We may never truly escape the chilling presence that haunts that house, a reminder that sometimes, the terrors of reality can be far more frightening than any supernatural entity. Thank you for sticking with us through the whole video. Also, I recommend you this video you see on screen, one of the scariest on my channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. This helps me bring you more thrilling content every day. If this video sent shivers down your spine, let me know in the comments.